I realized I was being pushed aside the moment they shifted my desk. Not to a nicer floor or closer to leadership. No, they dumped me beside the supply room on the 10th floor. The corridor reeked of bleach and overheated toner. 14 years at Larkhaven Data Systems, and this was my reward. A dented metal desk, a chair that squealed every time I breathed, and ceiling lights that flickered like they were debating whether to stay alive. No explanation. No conversation. My name's Ethan Marlowe. I'm 48, divorced, 2 sons in university, and apparently the resident fixer, broken dashboards, collapsing databases, forecasting models that melt down before a pitch. I'm the one rewiring the guts while someone in a $1,000 blazer claims credit in front of investors. Every review said the same thing. Highly reliable, lacks strategic presence. Corporate code for, you're not invited to the yacht club, but don't you dare leave. We still need you to clean the mess. They never trusted me with the glamorous accounts, just the ones already burning. I rebuilt 2 7-figure projects after junior analysts shredded the initial code base. No appreciation. Just a good you had time to handle this, as they rushed for flights to leadership retreats. Then came Ravenshore, a $20 million overhaul for a national retail chain. Inventory logic, customer clusters, predictive engines, the whole stack. A project that could crown a career or end one. I nearly dropped my coffee when Graham Whitmore, our CEO, named me on the kickoff call. This one's high stakes, he said, and Ethan Marlowe will be central to our success. Not assisting, not participating. Central. For the first time in years, I let myself hope that maybe all the invisible grind was finally being seen. I knew our systems intimately, every shortcut, every brittle script, every metric padded to look good. That night I stayed late, combed through the current architecture, and mapped what had to be rebuilt from scratch. This was the moment. Not just a raise. I could finally edge into VP territory, maybe run my own team instead of living off everyone else's leftovers. If you love real emotional stories, hit subscribe. We post one every day. The following Thursday, a company-wide email landed. Subject, Strategic Leadership Edition. Please welcome Adrian Cole. I opened it, and there he was. Perfectly styled hair, skin untouched by fluorescent lights, suit that screamed private tailoring. That smirk. The kind you see in glossy conference brochures, not grinding through corrupted data logs at 2 a.m. Adrian Cole, age 36, transformation specialist. Previously at our fiercest competitor. Out of curiosity, I searched him. 3 conference talks, a profile full of buzzwords like innovation loops and resilience mapping, phrases with lots of shine and zero substance. 3 days ago, I was central to the project. Now a polished newcomer was parachuting in to drive direction. Monday's all-hands sealed it. Graham stood front and center, trying to make it sound like a strategic victory. Adrian brings the vision we need for Ravenshore, he said. He'll be leading the initiative effective immediately. Then the blow. Ethan will handle all technical execution. Handle. The word hit harder than anything else. Not lead, not guide, just handle, like I'd been tossed a wrench and told to fix the engine while Adrian practiced poses for the brochure. I didn't argue. I only nodded the same way I had 100 times before. But something in my gut tightened. That afternoon, I was wrapping up output checks when he appeared. No knock, no introduction, just leaned halfway into my cube like we were old friends. You must be the metrics guy. Excited to jam with you. Jam with me? What did that even mean? I gave him a thin nod and kept typing. He waited, fishing for some cheerful welcome. He didn't get one. By week 2, the emails began. Client wants churn analysis by group. Handle this. No explanation, no parameters. Just handle this like I was his personal tech mule. No please. No thanks. Just that same arrogant certainty in every line. Then he started phasing me out of client calls. Told Graham it was smoother if I stayed in the technical lane. I watched my own charts get pitched under his name. Full decks lifted straight from the shared folders, repackaged into his glossy presentations, stamped with his initials like trophies. Whenever I confronted him, he'd smile and toss out, "We're all one team, Ethan." Then on a Thursday at 5:12 p.m., as I was powering down, he strolled into my cube like he owned the entire floor. "Shoot me your login," he said. "Need to grab some visuals for tomorrow's preview." I turned slowly in my chair. "That folder's not finalized." He shrugged. "I'll just pull the good stuff." Right then I understood him completely, a thief in a tailored jacket, grinning while stripping me for parts. I didn't even bother with dinner. I walked straight back to my desk, dropped my bag, and woke the screens. If Adrian wanted to treat me like some back-end workhorse, fine. But he wasn't stealing anything else. The office was bone quiet, just vents humming and keys tapping as I created a new shared folder. Ravenshore, Review Materials. Clean, neat, innocent enough to pass any glance. Inside it, I built 6 files, each polished enough to dazzle anyone who only skimmed pretty charts. Professional, convincing, and wrong in every place a fraud like Adrian wouldn't notice. File 1, Customer Loyalty. I designed a beautiful spread, striking gradients, sharp visuals, and inverted the main metric so it showed a 20% plunge in repeat buyers. Reality? Retention had never been higher. But he wouldn't know that unless he checked the source tables, and he never did. File 2, Revenue Projections. I pulled figures from our UK division, deliberately misaligned the conversion rates, and let the math inflate expected revenue by 8 million. Still believable, especially to someone obsessed with big, shiny numbers. File 3, Segment Priorities. I dug up an ancient profiling model from 2012, the one centered on mid-career suburban families, and dressed it up as a breakthrough. Meanwhile, Ravenshore's actual core customers were late 20s professionals. Files 4 through 6 followed the same logic. Gorgeous dashboards, terrible insights, the kind of work only someone who didn't understand retail analytics would proudly present. Then I built the real versions, tight, accurate, cross-validated against 3 internal data pools, and locked them under my credentials with restricted access. Anyone touching them would leave a trail. I wasn't finished. Not even close. I opened a private log and began recording everything. Timestamps, edit trails, source queries, formulas, even metadata from my early drafts. Then I grabbed screenshots of every file's creation record. If Adrian wanted to start a war, I'd give him documentation airtight enough to smother him. Around 9:30, footsteps echoed down the hall. I stiffened. Thought maybe security was making rounds. But the rhythm was too relaxed. Adrian's polished loafers. He didn't even try to hide it. I minimized my windows, pushed back my chair, stayed still. From the corner of my eye, I watched him at his desk, logging into the shared drive like a kid sneaking into a candy shop. He opened my folder, paused for half a second, then began pulling down the files, every single one of the 6. He didn't check read-only status, didn't open the source tables, didn't even glance at the notes, just dragged them into his personal directory like Halloween candy. Then he made the stupidest move possible. He renamed them, removed my EM tag, and slapped his initials on instead. AC, like the work had always been his. I watched each rename in real time from the admin panel. Every download, every access stamp, every action recorded, even the device ID. He had no idea. When he finally left for the night, whistling like he'd just fixed the entire company, I hit refresh one more time. His fingerprints were everywhere. I saved the logs, shut everything down, grabbed my coat, and stepped into the elevator with one clear thought pulsing in my chest. Time to let him fall on his own arrogance. Next morning, I stepped into the Friday stand-up and found Adrian already stationed by the display. Sleeves rolled just enough to flaunt his watch. Voice smooth, rehearsed. "We've identified some concerning patterns," he said, flipping through my decoy dashboard like he'd been crafting it for weeks. "Here's a 20% decline in loyalty engagement. Major insight." Lena, one of our young analysts, sharp, detail-oriented, tilted her head at the graph. "Are we sure about that? We just ran a retention boost last quarter. Numbers blew past projections." Adrian didn't miss a beat. "Data can challenge comfort," he said, smiling at the room. "Sometimes the truth is disruptive." I sat silently in the back, nodding when he glanced my way, while my fingers tapped the underside of the chair. Every statement he made, I logged. Every chart he paraded, I traced back to the original file name, the metadata, the access trail stamped with his credentials. He was burying himself, and I wasn't about to slow him down. For the next 3 weeks, he rode that lie like it came with a company credit card. He scrubbed my name from every model, stamping his initials across the work. Walked into meetings with glossy decks and buzzwords, talking churn velocity and segmentation uplift like he'd personally invented retail analytics. He sold Ravenshore's executives on a strategy targeting near-retirement shoppers. All of it rooted in that bogus file built around outdated segments. Didn't even blink when someone asked, "Isn't our typical customer in their early 30s?" And the room just nodded along. They nodded, smiled, applauded when he threw out lines about reinventing the loyalty pipeline. Meanwhile, I was told to stay heads down and not disrupt the messaging. Graham's exact words, "Don't complicate the narrative." As if facts were the problem. Adrian cut me out of every key call. Told clients I was handling back-end architecture. He even proposed a webinar, modern retail segmentation, a new approach, big splashy live stream, big audience. He used 3 of my decoy graphs line for line. I watched his webinar on mute with a bag of pretzels in one hand and a notepad in the other, jotting down every bogus statistic he recited like it came down from a mountain. No one noticed the segment ages were 5 years off. No one caught that the satisfaction heat map had been flipped upside down. But the moment that made my teeth grind, he submitted the Ravensshore deck, the corrupted one, to the National Retail Analytics Summit, the industry's crown jewel event. Press coverage. Recorded sessions. Half the sector would see it. I didn't yell. Didn't slam a fist into my keyboard. Didn't send a single warning message. I just kept working. Built the real models quietly, the right way. Backed up every accurate dataset 3 times. Ran validations. Designed clean visuals. Stored everything in a locked directory only I could access. And every time Adrian opened one of his knockoff files, I logged it. Every download. Every rename. Every Slack note where he asked someone to adjust his chart for a deck, pretending he was hands-on. He stopped asking my opinion entirely. Didn't even glance at me when we passed in the hallway. Fine by me. I didn't need his attention. I just needed him to keep walking straight toward the bonfire he didn't know I'd already lit. Late Friday, Kara from sales wandered over, coffee in hand, secrets in her eyes. "Heads up," she murmured. Adrian already pushed the Ravensshore preview pack. My fingers froze above the keyboard. "To who?" "Exec team." CFO looped in. She leaned on my desk. Janet replied, saying something about projections looking overly rosy. Suggested digging into everything Monday. Kara took a sip, then added, "He removed the draft tag before sending." My jaw tightened. That wasn't a preview. That was a stake in the ground. After she walked off, I opened my backup vault, pulled the real files, and laid them side by side against the doctored ones Adrian had stolen. Checked for edits, metadata, timestamps, anything he'd touched. The seasonal inventory forecast? He hadn't changed a line. It still showed our Midwestern stores stocking summer apparel in the dead of winter. If Ravensshore followed that, they'd be unloading tank tops into snowbanks. Another file, tiered attrition, claimed premium members were defecting in record numbers. The truth? Retention was the highest it had been in half a decade. But Adrian never caught that. Too busy polishing his buzzwords. I documented everything again. Screenshots, logs, Slack threads, right down to the device signature from his laptop. Then I called a friend, someone outside the company, someone who has seen enough boardroom knives to know where they swing. I sent him the full packet with a single note. "If I go missing after Monday, here's the reason. Insurance." Saturday, I tightened the real deck. Clean visuals, accurate numbers, logic that could withstand a firing squad. No hype, no sparkle, just truth. By Sunday afternoon, I was restless. I paced the block, tried reading, ate half a sandwich, and threw the rest out. My phone vibrated at 9:22 p.m. An email from Graham Whitmore. Subject, Ravensshore meeting. 2 lines. "Ethan, please bring the documentation back up for tomorrow's Ravensshore session." That was all. No context. No CCs. No emoji to soften the blow. It was bait. I knew exactly what Adrian had done. Run full speed with the garbage data. Built his entire narrative on my trap. And Graham's email? That was the safety net. If anyone asked hard questions, I'd be the designated fall guy. The built-in scapegoat. Smart move. When you're surrounded by amateurs, you don't need to announce anything. I didn't reply. Didn't bite. I loaded my flash drive with the full real deck, charts, raw datasets, logs. I even printed hard copies. Old school insurance. Slid everything into a folder and zipped it shut like evidence ready for trial. When I finished, I stared at the glow of my screen. Adrian thought he'd outpaced me, outshined me, outmaneuvered me. But he forgot the one rule that keeps people like me alive in places like Larkhaven. I never stopped keeping receipts. And tomorrow, he'd walk straight into the grinder he'd built for himself. The elevator chimed on the top floor. Quiet. Too quiet. The Ravenshore boardroom looked like a magazine spread, glass walls, dark oak table, a skyline view that made you feel small. Inside, 15 people lined the curved table. CFO Janet Lowe was already skimming the agenda. At the head sat Raymond Shore, founder, mid-60s, silver hair, sharp eyes that read through people like spreadsheets. Adrian strolled in behind me, beaming like he'd just stepped into a surprise celebration. No nerves, no second thoughts. He set up his laptop with theater kid confidence, cracked a joke about the view. Polite laughter bubbled up. Then the meeting began. Appreciate everyone making the time, he said, voice smooth as a polished floor. What we're presenting isn't just an update. It's a full reinvention of Ravenshore's retail future. He tapped to the first slide, his doctored revenue forecast. This model shows a projected 40% surge in Q4. I didn't move. I just watched Janet. Her eyebrow lifted a millimeter. That seems ambitious. Adrian dazzled her with a grin. Actually, that's our conservative projection once we apply the new segmentation strategy and recalibrated churn metrics. Next slide. Customer targeting. We're shifting emphasis to consumers 55 and over, he said proudly. Massive, untapped opportunity. Raymond leaned forward. 80% of our sales come from buyers under 35. Adrian waved it off. Exactly why this is a visionary pivot. We're anticipating where retail is headed. Then he clicked to the inventory plan, swimwear forecast for December in Iowa. A ripple moved through the room. Mutters. Side eyes. Someone coughed like they were choking on disbelief. Adrian just kept talking, oblivious. Janet shut her folder. Mr. Cole, could you explain how you built these models? He blinked, lost his rhythm. A mix of cross-team insights and a proprietary framework. Kind of a collaborative synthesis. Raymond's gaze shifted to me. Mr. Marlowe? I stood, steady, unhurried. If I may, I said, lifting my flash drive. Raymond nodded. Go ahead. I walked to the front, unplugged Adrian's laptop without a word, and connected mine. The screen blinked, and his fantasy melted. Slide 1. Actual Q4 forecast. 6% growth. Modest, grounded in reality. Slide 2. Loyalty metrics. Engagement up, retention climbing. Slide 3. Age segmentation. 71% of customers between 25 and 34. Then came the receipts. File logs. Timestamps. Original file names with my tags. Versions he renamed. Slack messages where he forwarded stolen charts with notes like, polish this for my deck. Screens from the admin panel showing where and when he pulled each file from my directory. Janet leaned closer, her jaw set. These align with the data package we were sent last week. Raymond didn't look away from me. And the seasonal file showing swimwear for winter? Flagged as draft only, I said. Mr. Cole sent it before validation. Adrian lurched to his feet. There's obviously been some kind of mix-up. Raymond lifted a hand. You're finished. Silence swallowed the room. Adrian stood frozen, mouth open, chest tightening like he might try to salvage something. He didn't get the chance. He didn't say a word. Raymond Shore just shifted his attention to me. Mr. Marlowe, he asked, do you have a version of this presentation we can actually rely on? Yes, sir. I replied, opening a clean deck titled Larkhaven Marlowe. Adrian Cole was gone by lunchtime. No farewell email, no handshake, just a security guard waiting by his workstation while he loaded his corporate laptop and that pretentious leather folio into a box. He never glanced in my direction when he passed. His badge didn't even blink at the elevator. Deactivated on the spot. By the end of the day, his name had vanished from every shared folder and workflow chain. No more Cole_Q3_revision files cluttering the system. Just empty space where he used to posture. A few hours later, Graham Whitmore called an emergency all-hands. He stood in the center of the bullpen like he was broadcasting a quarterly earnings miracle. Effective immediately, he announced, Ethan Marlowe will serve as head of data strategy for Larkhaven Data Systems. He'll oversee the Ravenshore initiative moving forward. I didn't make a speech, just gave a nod and headed back to my desk. But as I walked through the room, people actually looked up. Really looked, not the quick glances you give someone whose work gets stolen. A few clapped. Others just nodded with a quiet sort of relief. No banners, no pastries, didn't need them. Respect has more weight anyway. The rest of that week, I focused on rebuilding from the ground up. No consultants with buzzwords, no slide deck magicians. Just analysts who had been ignored for years. People who cared about integrity, precision, and actual results. We didn't need vision architects. We needed people who could run the numbers correctly the first time. 2 weeks later, Janet Lowe, Ravenshore's CFO, sent me a handwritten card, thanking me for safeguarding the truth through the entire mess. I framed it beside my very first Larkhaven ID badge. Nice reminder of where I started, and how easily the work can get twisted if you let the wrong person lead. 6 months after that, the Ravensshore platform launched. Under budget. On schedule. Hit every benchmark. Our forecasts aligned with actuals so tightly the board called it the cleanest execution in a decade. Ravensshore used the tools to open 12 new locations by Q3. Zero theatrics. Zero surprises. Adrian's LinkedIn went silent. Last update had him independently consulting out of Clearwater. Rumor was he pitched himself to 3 mid-size firms and got turned down each time. Then, about a month after our launch, an email appeared in my inbox. Subject, coffee sometime? I think we should talk. I didn't reply, didn't even open it. Just archived and moved on. Not every story earns an epilogue. My new office has windows. 3rd floor. Sunlight instead of flickering fluorescence. My name on the glass, same format they use for directors. Every strategy document leaving this building crosses my desk now. And every model I build still ends with my initials. Some habits are worth keeping.